like Gypsy Rose Blanchard doesn't have custody of her baby. Before I tell you guys what I know or I've heard, I want to say this is all alleged. Case studies on Here and YT posted this. So I'm just going to read the comment. It says, because under CPS order, only Ken and his mom have physical custody. Gyp only has supervised visitation, which will be addressed after her release from probation, or parole rather. Truth here, Child Protective Services CPS will only allow her supervised. Ken, the father, and or Raina, Ken's mom. I just had to share. I can't hold back much longer. Now again, this is alleged, but this makes a whole lot more sense. Remember that baby video that she posted yesterday? Let's spin a block on that. Doesn't this look like, I don't know, like an aunt that saw their niece or a visitor?
It sounded like hi. You got a lot to say, home. Yeah.
That does not look like a mom and a daughter. That looks like somebody that was visiting. The reason why I say that is even though she's holding her, there's still a slight distance between them. Kind of like where you pick up someone else's baby and you're scared to like drop them and you're kind of like, hi, and like that sort of thing. That's the first reason why I actually believe that. The second reason is Ken is around for a reason. They purchased a house. Whose house would the house be? Whose name would the house be in? His, because he spoke about the approval, right? Who bought that house? Because Ken ain't got no money. Who bought the house? It would have had to be Christy or the trust. Why would they buy him a house? To keep the baby there in Louisiana. Raina is in, or alleged to be in, Texas. I personally think Raina is in Louisiana, and that's the way they were able to, both of them, to get custody, because I don't think they would just give Ken by himself custody. Now, also, I want you guys to think back to the way Gypsy spoke about the baby on Access Hollywood and ET Entertainment. When she described her interaction with the baby, it was more of a description like a visit, right? Because moms with a new baby would say, oh, it's been so tiring, but it's been amazing. Or, I have a lot of stressful nights. She won't go to sleep, but, I love her to death. No, she said, oh, Ken gets the best burps. It was very generic, right? Why would it be generic? Remember, Raina spoke about the baby. She spoke about how she was alert. She was looking at lights. She was looking around. That was a description of somebody that had the baby, right? Like she spoke on the little things, not the generic things. So I actually do believe this. Lastly, Ken looked so upset and he was so rude and such a douchebag in that restaurant. What is holding him? How does she keep him there? This makes more sense than for her to have custody of the baby, especially being on parole for unaliving her mom, which is a family relationship. Think about that. Like, most unalivers don't ever get out to have their kid. Why would they give her custody on parole for unaliving her mom? That's not realistic. This makes more sense to me. So it might not be true. I would say I'm about 90% that that's accurate. Christy wouldn't get custody, and this is why. Christy is not the maternal grandmother. Rod is the maternal grandfather. Rod did not raise Gypsy. He left her. And it shows that there wasn't interaction. Why would they give her baby to her dad that left her? They wouldn't do that. Christy would not pass a rug test, period. So she would not get that baby. And you said they would have to have reason to take the baby. So I looked up in Louisiana, if you commit matricide, would that disqualify you from having custody? It says key reasons why custody would likely be denied: moral fitness and criminal record. A serious violent crime like matricide would heavily weigh against custody. Risk to the child. The court would see a parent with a history of extreme violence as a potential danger. Parental rights termination. Depending on the circumstances, the state would terminate parental rights, meaning the person would have no legal claim to custody. 4, best interest of the child's standard. Louisiana law ensures children are placed in a safe, stable home, making it nearly impossible for someone convicted of matricide to gain custody. Crime alone would be a big reason. And again, I don't think people are realizing homicide and matricide is very different. Unaliving your biological mother is looked at a lot worse because that is someone who raised you. This is the parent. This is the most important relationship that you've had in your adulthood. You got to think about that. Now, I know a lot of you keep saying, oh, but she was abused and blah, 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 blah. She pled guilty to unaliving her mom. She did not go to court. She pled guilty to it. In other words, she didn't fight it because she wasn't a victim of abuse. She was 23 years old. It's proven that she had a microdeletion, which is where all of those issues stemmed from. And if she would have went to court, she would have been found guilty and she would have gotten the penalty or life without the possibility of parole. She would not have gotten parole. So for starters, that is something that I think people really need to understand, because y'all keep giving her these passes. And I'm telling you for a fact, nobody takes a plea deal if they believe they're innocent. Nobody takes a plea deal if they've been extremely abused, because the courts would use that as a mitigating factor. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a child predator, and I have proof. This comment is wild because if your husband said he wanted to sacrifice your daughter at the time that she was 13 to someone else because that's his best friend or whatever, actually, would you be okay with the fact that it's 10 years later? Because the thing about predators is that is something that's deeply ingrained in people. Like, that's their way of thinking, to want to do something to a minor. That she unalived her biological mother. The mother and daughter relationship is very similar to the daughter and mother relationship. You need to let that sink in. The fact that if a man was to say this exact same thing, you would not feel the same way. That shows you what you're saying is sexist. A predator is a predator. Whether it's today, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, they are someone that thinks that way about kids. And especially when you're talking about sexually. Furthermore, how many of those Dateline people never actually did something to that child, but they showed up and got arrested? Furthermore, this is a photo of what Gypsy had on her page a couple of months ago. She says, I wonder if I look back at this post years from now, how accurate it will be. We will see how smart AI is. Okay? Now, this is a little girl, and when I put it into the Google search, what came up is a little girl between the ages of 5 and 7. I want you to look at the fact that she gave this child tatas. Remember, she said, and that is in the actual incident report that I posted, that she wanted to offer up her child to her father. So this girl hasn't changed. That's the point. So when you say, oh, this was 10 years ago that incident report happened, but yeah, this was like, what, 2 months ago? Yeah, she has those same thoughts. I said what I said. So I say that to ask that same question. If your husband, boyfriend, whatever, had an incident report saying that he would offer up your daughter for someone's actual desires when she turns 13, would you be okay with that? And then you see him post a picture of a daughter with tatas when you added the tatas to the daughter. Would you be okay with that? They had a TMZ live with one of Wendy Williams' friends, and her and Harvey spoke, and she gave some details, and I want y'all to hear this. Things are getting very juicy, and I feel like NYC is about to be under some heat for what's transpired. And I also think the Guardian knows that her ass is up under fire, child. That's why they've been acting kind of funny, and they haven't wanted her out. I think that's the only reason. And the judge is kind of scared right now. I really, truly believe that. So keep that in mind when you watch this.
Wendy went to Lenox Hill Hospital yesterday and took a test to determine if she functions in a cognitive way, where she knows, where she has a memory, where she is present and with it. Wendy Williams was asked 10 questions by a psychiatrist. She aced the test. She answered all 10 correctly. And that is hugely important because Wendy is not just under a guardianship, she is under one that she says is akin to a prison, where she is confined to the fifth floor, the memory unit of a facility in New York City, where she can't even leave the floor without permission from an attendant. She can't take calls when people call in. That can't happen. Can't use the internet. She is not allowed visitors, and she has been this way for many, many, many months, and she wants out. So this is a huge deal that a psychiatrist said she aced this test.
Because the whole point of her being on the memory floor is because she's supposed to not be able to remember anything. They asked her 10 questions to check her memory, and she got all of them right. This is some video that we have gotten. Harvey did an entire documentary with Wendy, talking to her. You've been in regular communication with her about this, and you've also been in communication with somebody who's very close with her, who we're talking to today.
Yeah, indeed. Her name is Gina Lisa Monterosa. Now, Gina is really, really critical in this because she has been helping Wendy navigate her circumstances and actually helped engineer this trip to the hospital with a backdrop of an NYPD investigation now, an Adult Protective Services investigation now. So a lot is changing, and Gina is joining us. Gina, we are so happy to have you here. Welcome to TMZ Live.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Harvey. Alex, thank you so much.
So what do you make of the results here? How important is it?
It's big. It's big news. I think it's something that everybody, the public, has been waiting for, wanting answers. Myself as well. It just really states a big case and a very factual case that Wendy's not incapacitated.
So what's next?
Well, right now Wendy's in the hospital. We're waiting to see, what the next tests are. To my understanding, she may be going under some more tests, and hopefully we're trying to see if she can go into a less restricted environment.
Well, that's interesting you say that because my understanding from talking to Wendy and others is that you want something not just less restrictive, you want to end the guardianship.
We do. Unfortunately, we do have to go through the courts. There's a lot right now that's going on. Right now, Wendy told me she can't pick her own attorney. She has to stay with the attorney that she has right now. Wendy was interested in picking other attorneys to come on board to help her. It doesn't seem that that's going to actually happen. And so we just have to see and wait how this attorney she currently has, Sadat Salami, who's been very active in trying to see to get her a step closer to getting her to a less restricted environment.
You're saying she's still at the hospital. How long are you expecting her to stay at the hospital, and what kind of tests are we talking about?
It's day by day right now. I think she has to go through another eval as well, just to kind of seal the deal. I think it's a little more extensive is my understanding, but that may not be true. I don't know. Everything's just been up in the air as of today, but right now she's safe in a safe environment where she is protected and she's not confined, and there's people on her side. And it's the hospital.
So shoot me down here if you want, but my recon is she's at the hospital not necessarily because of additional tests. She does not want to go back to that memory unit.
No, there are more tests coming. It's my understanding there's one today. I don't know if it's going to actually happen, but no, obviously, clearly, nobody would want to go there. Wendy doesn't want to go there. She doesn't want to go back to a confined space. She doesn't want to go onto a locked unit. No, she definitely does not want to do that. And she feels very protected at the hospital.
Can you talk also about Wendy's media strategy with all this? We know that she did the documentary with Harvey. She called into the Breakfast Club today. She's supposed to be on The View later this week. What's the thinking there?
There's no strategy. I am not PR, but we do take things day by day. I mean, Harvey, who has been, on the front of all of this, I mean, probably the most person that actually helped us get this to the world. He's in contact with us. We're in contact with him. He helps us, get out important information that the public needs to know. There's no strategy. There's no book I'm following. There isn't anything.
Gina, the question that I'm asked more than any other is why is the guardianship, the judge and the guardian, why are they trying to hold on so tight? Why are they not just looking at her? Because, look, there's some common sense involved here. When you listen to her, when you talk to her, everybody I know who's interacted with her says she's back to the old Wendy. Why do you think the guardianship is hanging on the way they are and saying she needs to be in this? She's not well. She's getting worse. It's sort of like, who do you believe, me or your lying eyes?
Just looking at everything, I mean, clearly Wendy doesn't belong on a locked floor. What would be the only answer? The only answer would be this whole lifetime lawsuit. I really believe that maybe the guardian wants to save her reputation. She wants to clear her name and, holding lifetime responsible for the outcome of that documentary and not herself, because obviously she was under a guardianship when this happened.
In other words, that the guardian wasn't there to protect and stop her when they were filming, when Wendy was clearly under the influence.
Correct. And, the guardian, in my opinion, put Wendy at harm. She was not the one that put the checks and balances to ensure that Wendy was safe during this Lifetime documentary. That was her responsibility. It was nobody else's.
Obviously, sobriety has been good for Wendy and her memory. If she's out of the guardianship, if she's out of this restricted environment, what steps is she going to take to stay clean and sober?
Wendy is clean and sober now, and Wendy will be taking her sobriety very seriously. And we are going over many steps to ensure that Wendy will remain, alcohol free. This is something that she understands. This is something that her niece understands. We all understand the importance of making sure that there are steps and there are barriers put in place, that Wendy is protected, and, no one is going to be, an influence. And she's not going to be in a situation where, she will start drinking again. I mean, that is a priority. That is a high priority on Wendy's end.
Gina, I got a call yesterday from the NYPD, and they wanted my impressions of Wendy. So it sounds like they're doing, and I know they were at the facility yesterday. It sounds like they're looking into this. Adult Protective Services in New York is looking into this. Do you know what the status of that is, and have you spoken with them?
Right now, everything is open and ongoing. Nothing is closed. It's not closed. There's still other steps that need to be taken, and I'm more than sure that Wendy will exercise those steps.
Has the Guardian said anything to Wendy with everything that's going on? I mean, that we have the documentary and the NYPD and Adult Protective Services and a psychiatric test and all these things. Has the Guardian interacted with her at all to talk about this?
No, it's my understanding Wendy said the Guardian showed up at the hospital, didn't ask how she's doing, didn't ask what's going on.
Did she talk to Wendy?
Not at all. She just stood outside of her room, according to Wendy.
What's going on here? I mean, why wouldn't the Guardian interact with her?
I think the Guardian is guarded, if that's the right thing to say. I think she feels that anything that she says towards Wendy is going to be put under a microscope, and she may be criticized for it. But that's sad and unfortunate, because to me, that means that she hasn't developed a relationship with Wendy. She's not guarding Wendy. She's not looking for what's in her best interest, because a good guardian will have a relationship with their ward. A good guardian would be worried about their ward. A good guardian would want their ward to be happy. And so if there's a communication breakdown, you need not be that guardian, because how are you going to work in her best interest?
Yeah.
I mean, that's astounding to think about, the fact that she went all the way to the hospital, is standing outside the room, and won't even talk to Wendy.
It's bizarre. It is bizarre. Gina, thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. I appreciate the both of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. It is just, it's hard for me to understand what's going on with the judge, what's going on with the Guardian. I mean, the Guardian should be interacting with her. That's the point. And she's a stranger. And it's odd.
It does feel like things are going the right way for Wendy, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so I even have a bigger update on the pew-pewing that happened in Dallas at the chair competition where my daughter was doing the fashion show. Snooki from Jersey Shore, daughter, was in this competition, and she was there, and y'all got to hear what Snooki has to say, because child, it's wild. It's wild, child. Just watch this, y'all.
I'm like, where the fuck is Giovanna? What is happening? And then I hear 2 more gunshots, and then people are running more. So by the time we stopped running, we were like a mile away from the convention center. I finally figure out that Giovanna is like 2 miles away in a nearby movie theater, and she's hiding in a movie theater, with some of her teammates. So they got split up. So there was four teammates together, but one of the dads was with them. So thank God, the dad found them and was watching them and protecting them. And Giovanna didn't have her phone because she was warming up. Yeah, she had her bag and she had her phone. I would have tracked her on 360. I would have knew exactly where she was. Right when I find out, I'm running full speed, Forrest Gump, down a highway, jumping barricades. And as I'm running, people are like, "Oh my God, Snooki, can I get a picture?" I'm like, "Bitch, we're not fucking shooting. I can't find my daughter." 3 people asked for pictures. I can't. I'm like, I cannot find my daughter. I just heard gunshots. It was pure chaos. I'm like, I'm not fucking picture. Are you kidding me?
Where are all the people that said we did not actually hear gunshots? Because even now, on the police radio, it says otherwise. So where are y'all? All of the people that were trying to gaslight the parents that were there and heard it, and you weren't there, and you were trying to tell us we didn't hear it. Where are y'all at now? Because it's been crickets since then. Crickets. And there's lots of cheerleaders that are still traumatized to this day and having a very hard time coping with what happened. But yet you grown people came on here and said it didn't happen. How do you feel? How do you feel? Because as a mom that had to hide 2 of her kids, and somebody to say, you didn't hear what you heard? When everybody first said run, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything until we were underneath a desk and we were sitting. And I was listening to hear if anything was close. That's when I heard it. But the fact that people are saying you didn't hear that, that's not what that was. I've been saying that that was definitely a pew-pew, and allegedly it's a rifle. Okay, so there you have it.
So I just tried to call the Dallas police and send them my videos of the shooting and all the different accounts with the different names and where they were, because I have over 200. The first 2 people on the line hung up on me just for wanting to make a report because they said they've already investigated that and that's over. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you're just gonna hang up on me? So finally I called back a 3rd time, and I actually get to speak to a decent human who gives me a detective's number who is working on the case. But I want to know why you lied about the bullet holes that were there in 2019 when Google Earth shows no bullet holes in 2021. This is fraudulent. Get to the truth. We are going to.
Y'all, this was a very scary situation. And it really did piss me off that a lot of people were like, oh, it didn't happen, or, oh, people are saying they heard stuff, but they didn't. I knew I heard it without a shadow of a doubt. And I know that a lot of people, I feel like, were so nervous that they were running and hiding that they weren't listening. But me, even though I was hiding, I tried to remain calm because of my kids, but I also wanted to make sure I heard which direction the danger was coming from. And so I think some people really didn't get that part. And considering I'm from New York, I'm used to hearing noises and stuff. So, but I pay attention on another level, and I really listen out to things. Or for things. So that's why it kind of the whole thing just bothered me. But I hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye for now. And let me know if y'all want me to do a live.